everybody. This is Danny, and most of you know I've been under the weather, so I'm going to probably be doing this in little bits and pieces. So today's actually November 3rd, but because I was very sick yesterday, I did not push myself, and as you should not also, and it's taken me a long time to get to this point, and I decided I was not going to create anything yesterday and just stay in bed and rest. Very not like me, but that's how ill I was. So today is Blossom Tangle day 2, and I'm going to be doing a little catch up. And I don't really feel like I've fallen behind. It's just that I'm working at a different pace than originally anticipated. So just know to be kind to yourself that things in life happen, and sometimes you need to just pause and sit back. So I'm not sure of all my supplies today, but what I do have out is one of my favorites, which is Lindy's Magicals. These are just fantastic pigment powders, excuse me. They get sold in sets and some do get sold individually, but today's colors I'm using from these two sets here. And I'm going to add a little bit to the background. There's so many different videos. I've taught classes on magicals. If you've never used them, before there's a lot of information out there. So I'm just going to get ready and I have some paintbrushes here and I just want to point out that you don't have to spend a ton on supplies. This is a better brand watercolor brush, but from time to time I'll experiment with different tools just to see how the quality of things are. And believe it or not, this light bluish teal one here is from Temu, the website Temu, Temu, and it came in like a pack of 10. I don't remember. It was ridiculously cheap, maybe $4. So if you're, what do I have to lose? And I have to tell you, they are completely fine to work with. They're not falling apart. Sometimes I leave them overnight in my water because I get lazy. I have to go downstairs. I know it's so far to wash my brushes and they're not getting ruined. The points are still good. The hairs are not falling out and I've been fine with them. I have some water off on the side. I love this little vessel here. It's just so cute. It's from Natural Life. I get paid nothing by all these people. I'm just sharing some of my favorite things. It has this cool little spot on the top that you can rest your paintbrush. And I do use paper towels, but I try to use washcloths every now and then. Old washcloths I'm going to throw out, I use as painting supplies and I wash them separately. And this is what I travel with too, because I don't want to ruin things at the hotel rooms. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I like to open up my colors. I've chosen some pinks and purples. They reminded me of some more feminine type of colors. And today's blossom pattern is Patdejor. And as I'm painting, I will tell you a little bit more about it. And Patdejor is by me. Okay, so this is a pattern that I deconstructed, and I deconstructed it for my mom with her in mind. And I have included quite a bit of my patterns in here. And the reason being is I don't like to really talk about my patterns much, but I figure since this is a challenge for myself, why not? Because if I created them, I must really enjoy them, right? So I'm going to take some water. And again, I'm just going to kind of place some water on here. And with my sixth graders in middle school, our theme has embrace the mess. It's kind of hard because they're so used to having rules and guidelines. And now I'm kind of like, they're like, is this okay? And everything's a yes. So yeah, so embrace the mess. I'm gonna just dip my brush right into the pigment powder. This is not comfortable for some people. Some people like to put it in a palette, and that's fine too. Do what you're comfortable with. So I'm gonna just add some of this. You use watercolors in place of this. I feel like I might be a little blurry. My eyes are, it's themselves are a little blurry, so bear with me. And I'm gonna take a little purple. Oh my gosh, I can't, if you've never met me, I can't wait to have my regular voice back. I have no particular plan. And look, I went on to that other side and I'll show you eventually what I'm going to do over there, but I don't care. Things are not, like I said, perfect. Embracing the mess. This is pretty. What is this one called? Ramlin Rose Pink. Wow, that's beautiful. That's part of the Victorian bouquet. I love it. All right, so I'm not gonna do a whole bunch right now, and yeah, it's messy. I love it. I'm gonna leave it like that for right now. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, or you can take a heating device and you can dry it yourself. Make sure if you're using a hair dryer, these pigment powders are closed. The last thing you want is for them to blow all over the place. All right, so let's start drawing. And again, refer to the step outs. Maybe draw them first if you've never done them before. And as I'm drawing, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Patdejor. So the time that I created this or deconstructed this, it's right around the time that the war had started, the war between Russia and Ukraine. And there were so many clips of the moms and their little children fleeing Ukraine to get to safety. And it was really upsetting to me. And I'm not a mom, but I really can empathize and put myself into other people's shoes and just kept envisioning the hardships that this was creating for everybody. And I thought about how strong you have to be as a mom, as a parent, as a person in general in times of war, and how brave they were leaving maybe other family members behind. And it made me think of my mom and how I probably put her through a lot as a teenager, even though I would say, oh, I think she would agree I was a pretty good kid in general, but still a child. Um, and I wanted to create something that I could show her my appreciation, especially at a time where I feel like here in the United States, we we have so much, right? Like we're really so lucky. And oops, I just did that one this is what happens when you don't turn your when you turn your book. I did that opposite. That's okay. And we have so much and it's so hard to buy gifts. So I drew this for her and named it Pat de Jour. And the name came from a combination of my mom's maiden name and her married name. So the JOR is part of her maiden name and the DE is part of her married name, which you guys, my last name is part of that, right? And her first name is Patricia Pat, and I called it Pat du jour. And it reminded me of soup of the day. So for me, this pattern is called Mom of the Day. So Pat of the Day, Mom of the Day. So that's where that came from. So you can see I do get better over 26 years teaching of multitasking with talking and drawing at the same time, but it definitely is always still a challenge for me, and that is why I had that little line in the wrong direction, but that's fine. We know it now. Anybody watching this knows it because I pointed it out. You may not have even realized. And I don't know if I'm going to do this for all of my patterns, all my days, but right now I'm sticking with mono tangles that I'm drawing the one pattern a day in my head, but as I say this, I might make a liar of myself and change it up, but we'll see. So let's see, let's add these side pieces again. Kind of just in my head brainstorming what I want to use next. Because again, this is not traditional, this is mixed media that I'm using. I like odd numbers, so the two is fine, but I'm gonna add a third one. I love silence, so it's kind of funny that when I teach, I talk way more than what my personality is. Um, And it's not because I'm nervous, because I feel very comfortable, but I like to share as much as I can. So my strained voice, which sounds fabulous today compared to what it has all week, um, I might be a little quieter than normal today. My throat though doesn't hurt anymore, so that is a blessing. My sixth and eighth graders have been beyond understanding and fabulous. I'm so grateful for them with my voice because two of the days I had maybe a whisper. But this is a good lesson too. If, when you're not feeling well, rest. Your body's trying to tell you something, especially me with my illness. I have to start listening more. So if it's like hard for you to not work on something that is more structured, then make it more structured. You could do that. That's completely fine. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better what I have here. All right, so I'm going to just pause, give myself a little rest, and then I'm going to come back and continue. Just gonna on this side have my left side. If I counted the pages right, we'll see a little bit of a reference. So I've gone in and I've written down the magical colors that I've used for you. I know some of you will be curious. So those are there for you. And sometimes I say I'm going to remember what they are, but let's be real. Like if I look back a year from now, I will have a year. If I look back next week, I'll have no idea what these colors are. Okay, so I pulled out some Tombows. This is going to be my third material I'm using, my third medium. So I have a bunch of colors here. Whatever I decide to use, I'll write down the numbers on the other side for you, so don't worry. And I'm going to do some shading with these, and you can activate these. These are water-based. So since they're water-based, you can use water and that paintbrush of yours to blend them. Or you can just leave as is if you want. So I have gone ahead just on a back an old tile here and tested out the colors, see if they were to my liking. And I think they are, but we'll see. So actually this one, it's actually a lot darker than what it looks on the cap. So I do always recommend going in and kind of seeing what it looks like. So I'm going to add a little bit around some of these. And again, we're doing mixed media. So if you don't like what you do, the great part is take another material and cover it. So I'm going to take my wet brush and just get rid of that harsh line. And sometimes it can be a little tricky. You don't want to kind of like to work in bits and pieces so that the line is easier to get rid of. And sometimes you can't get rid of the line as easy as you want, but that's okay too. I don't like getting the points of my brush marker wet. Some people will take the sides. This part of mine getting wet here, you can take your brush and use that and paint with it. I don't mind, but the point, I don't really love getting my point wet. Sometimes it starts to do funny things, but definitely the side of it. So I'm just working in little increments here, and I'm gonna go around with this. So due to my lack of voice, I'm going to continue just with this color. I'm going to pause and I'll be back in, I don't know, when I'm done with this. So I did some around here and here. I don't know if I want to do over here yet, if I'm going to want to do pencil. So I paused for a bit and I'm going to, this might be too light, but let's see the 623 purple. There's some purple here. So I kind of just try to find what color is down and take a little bit of a darker version of it and go in with that for my shadow. and I'm not worried about being super precise. So I might be, you might be like, oh my gosh, she's working so quick, but I'm not concerned if I go out of the lines a little bit. And I have been, working with these materials for so long that if it's something new to you, it's going to take you a little bit longer. And that's normal. Anytime I try a new supply, I'm not confident. And when I'm not confident, I get really hesitant about putting a mark on the paper. So just know that that's completely normal, whatever age you are. If you're a kid creating, a teen, an adult, whatever age you are, that's a normal feeling. Even if you're used to using something and you have like a brand new book, starting and putting that first mark in your brand new book can sometimes be intimidating. This is a really beautiful hot pink. This is 725 Tombow. And I'm going to add, this is all white. It's going to be pretty shocking. And this, my brush already has on it. So I'm just going to add a little bit over here, maybe here, and bring this up into here. This is very, again, very white area. So it's making quite a statement color. So my husband, Will, so I know many of you know Will, but my husband Will has been taking great care of me while I'm sick, which is great, but he did go fishing today. It's pretty cold out. We'll be dressed warm, but he left me breakfast before he left, which was super nice. So I had a nice pancake breakfast. And my baby, my feather baby Monet, I didn't hold her at all yesterday, but I did take her out this morning for a little bit. So you'll meet her. If you haven't met her, by the end, you'll feel like Monet is your pet. I just haven't um with being sick. They say they really can't catch a cold. I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't want to chance it. So it's been a lot of daddy daughter time. Those that know me know that that is very difficult for me not being with my baby. Again, this brush, this color is so bright, I can just paint with it now. Another thing I like to do sometimes, like again, here's the back of a tile. Sometimes I'll take it, go like this, take my brush, get the marker on it, and then I can paint with it. Look at that, how cool, right? Again, maybe you want some line work. I like the idea of just things kind of, right, being a little loose like that. How fun. So this is pink. This is a dark pink though, so I could do pink or purple over it, but I'm gonna say this marker here is really enjoyable and it has a lot of life in it too that I can't believe I haven't used it more unless this was one of the ones I just replaced. Some of my art supplies I'm very organized with and some I just have like in bags and all over the place, but my Tombow is in a big case and very protective of them. And I charted all the colors. My friend Gail, if you're watching, I know that you can relate to that feeling. Another brand of water-based markers that are excellent are Koi. I have those too, so maybe I'll use those another day so you could look at those as well. And I'm a righty, so I'm keeping this Tombow in my left hand. I don't put it down. I just keep switching back and forth between the two. That's what works for me. So we'll see if I get to day 3 today. I know I'm definitely gonna need a nap after this, and, maybe this evening I'll take a look and see what day 3 is and see how I'm feeling, and if I feel up to it, I'm gonna do day 3 later, but if I don't feel up to it, get myself caught up. It's fine. Things, like I said, don't go as planned. Maybe you have a vacation day. Maybe a friend drops in you haven't seen in a while, and you're like, oh, you know, as much for me, life is part of my everyday art. Life, art is part of my everyday life. You can tell I'm not feeling well, and for me, missing a day, that's really tough, especially when I teach my sixth and eighth graders art all day long, and then I come home and create art, so not doing any art is completely strange on a given day for me. Got a little purple here. And I don't know, like I kind of want to add more stuff, but into this other mediums, but I may not. I feel like this white behind here is a lot. I'm gonna add some purple here. All right, so I mean, you might be looking at yours thinking, oh, I need more, or this is it. This is like where I'm at. And I'm going back and adding a little bit on this card. And I add in here. And sometimes you just need to walk away, especially if you're looking at something, you're like, I don't like this. All right, well, if you don't like how something's coming out, trust the process, walk away, maybe come back tomorrow, and then look at it with a fresh set of eyes. There's been so many times where I've created something and I'm like, oh, I am just not happy with this. And then the next day I look at it, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I like that these markers have two sides to them so you can write with them as well, which is super nice. Did I use this one? Yes, I did. So I didn't want to be using this really dark one. Let's see if I can turn this. I can. Um, I don't I don't like everything always being in the same direction. So these are my Tombows. So if you're interested in the colors I use, that's the colors. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a good dry. My paper's dry and I love that texture when it starts to curl. Drives some people crazy, but to me, it just shows that I created. It's a good feeling. I like to touch it and just feels good. So I decided I'm just add a little bit of Prismacolors to this. And Prismacolors are colored pencils. And this is a set of 24. I have bigger sets. I have loose sets. I have a ton of these. Great investment. I love them. They blend really nice on the watercolor paper. It's a little bit groovy. So keep that in mind. You're not working on a smooth paper, but I want to kind of do like a little bit maybe of scribbling and texture here. So I pulled out some pinks and purples. I don't know, maybe I'll go back in. Maybe I won't use all three of these. We'll see what happens. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of maybe adding some more shadows and a little bit of texture. I love mulberry. Mulberry is one of my favorite go-to colors, and I'm just going to go into these little bit of darker areas and add. So what I mean by darker areas are areas that overlap one another and would be creating a shadow. So I'm just gonna go into this. Have you had any of those irregular lines from the Tombows? This is going to cover it up now if you're doing this. So just adding and maybe scribbling a little bit out further. Here I'm going to switch to violet. And the reason I chose violet here is because I have a purple and I like to go a little bit darker than the color that's down. So pressure, if you press harder, you're going to get a more vibrant color. If you press lighter, it'll be a lighter color, lighter shade of that. Maybe a little bit in the back over here, just scribble, scribble, scribble. Maybe a little bit of a light pink. This is lighter technically than this one, but I'm just adding a little texture to this. My gosh, that's so much fun. Even, maybe in the insides a little bit. I feel like as I move on with a drawing, it's like, okay, I'm warmed up now. Got my practice in, and now I can like really bounce around this page, right? Right, so and I really could play for hours. I don't know, like maybe if I was feeling up to it, I probably would keep going. But I'm happy, and there's nothing to say that on day 15 I can't come back to day two, right? And add something else. So keep that in mind too. So I've used 995 and 929 and 932. I love that everything is labeled so that it's easy references to go back and know what colors you used, or if you need to reorder, you don't have to buy a whole full set, which is great. You can just order them on their own. So I like the Prismacolor Premier set. They're smoother. There's different types of Prismacolors, um, and I've tried the various ones. And I've had, when you're a school teacher, you order things and sometimes you don't get what you ordered because the higher ups will see something cheaper and replace it out on a bid. And then you get a supply that you can't use because it's not the quality that you need for what you're doing. So, unfortunately, I've tried some supplies that I did not want to try, but it's all part of the learning experience, right? So, I do like the Premiere set the best. All right. So thank you so much for tingling with me on this Blossom Challenge or just watching. Please subscribe and like. And again, if I feel up to it this evening, right now, the time change, see, it's 11 a.m. here, a little after. And I'm gonna go and lay down and get some rest, and we'll see how I feel later. Maybe I'll get to do day three. If not, I hope to just keep improving every day and to see you guys tomorrow. And just remember, have fun, guys.